Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Loosehead Sports Show, the number one sports show in the world. I'm slurring my words already, Jed. Didn't even have a beer on the weekend, my friend. Firstly, brought to you by Caffeine Gum Australia. If you do not chew caffeine gum, then fuck you. If you're listening on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple, please subscribe right now and follow us both on Instagram at Two Loose Heads for the show and at Wandering Bear Sports for the Empire. Jed, how are you, sir?
I'm good. I'm here for the funeral.
What's the funeral?
Well, Tupou's out. Therefore, the tour is dead.
Is he out for the rest of the year?
I don't know. I'm waiting.
Well, let's talk about rugby soon. I wanted to get straight into this conversation, which I think will, be well in your wheelhouse. And it's the subject of cancel culture. Now, you and I are both fans of Dave Portnoy. Huge fans of Dave Portnoy. I'm not sure what your thoughts on Aaron Rodgers are. I'm a fan of Aaron Rodgers. And there's been a couple of things go on this week where people have tried to cancel these two sort of outspoken figures. And rather than going into the details on exactly what happened, because it's all alleged in terms of Dave. Obviously, Aaron was talking about not getting the vaccine. What's your take on the whole cancel culture sort of craze at the moment, for lack of a better way of saying it?
Insane. It is insane. Unfortunately, too many people get caught by it. Look, I think it came from something that was probably a good movement. Was the genesis of the Me Too stuff in Hollywood, and like bad things were happening and bad people sort of went down for it. And it's extended to a point now where if you don't like anyone for any reason and you're offended by them, then they have to stop existing. Dave's one in particular, he's sort of a right-wing conservative, whether he likes to say it or not. And that's just what the left do. Whereas Aaron is unfortunately just caught in a very controversial topic.
I don't understand cancel culture. I'm fully across what happened with both of them. Obviously, there's been some allegations against Dave, which I don't know if they're true or not. I hope they're not true, because if they are, it's bad. But he's handled it in a really good way, I think, because a lot of people are just, when they get accused of something, they just put their head in the sand and hope that it goes away. And it does for some people, doesn't for other people. But Dave's gotten on the front foot and basically gone after the people trying to cancel him. And I think that's the way to go about it, because if you just allow these people to cancel whoever they like you and I did a show the other week, we had to cut a lot of stuff out of there. We're nobodies. We're absolutely nobodies. But if one person gets offended by something we say, like even you and I, who don't really have an audience yet, are worried about that.
Yeah, well, it would be the repercussions from. It's like me and you aren't worried about it, but whether Eastwood Rugby or Southern Districts Rugby or some other third party who has some sort of say in our lives is worried about it, that's a different factor. Now,
but why is that an issue? Because we weren't talking about anything necessarily untoward.
Because everyone is super worried about offending anyone else ever. Now, the one thing I've got to say with the movement, and you said it sort of unknowingly, it was that you don't know whether what happened with Dave was true or not. The world now is people forgot you're meant to be innocent before you're fucking guilty.
Exactly right.
So that extends to everyone, except in the public sphere. Where in the public sphere, if anything is leveled against you of any ability, you're gone. You're fucking out of there. So the only way to do it is the way that Dave's sort of done it. It's to kick back and go, well, no, fuck you. You're trying to write a hit piece on me. None of it's true. Do whatever you want. Here's my evidence. But I think people forget that, one, they're innocent until they're proven guilty in the way we run our legal system. And yeah, people just don't stop existing because you don't like them. Doesn't happen.
So you've had a brief sort of encounter with someone trying to cancel you this week. What's that been like for you? I got a lot of laughter from people responding to me trying to cancel you. I shouldn't have admitted it was me, but like even that type of situation, like what was that like for you?
I
You
was
probably
thinking
enjoyed it.
I'm like, in my head, I was like, do you mean you? Yeah, well, I mean, I didn't care, but I mean, it's because I don't have as much stake in anything. I mean, you know, there's
Find that hard to believe.
dollars aren't being rotated. You know, I was more upset about a very unflattering photo of me in a white Eastwood top than any of the comments. But you know what? I hope you all thought the comments were funny, and to the ones, go fuck yourself if you didn't write a good one.
Well, look, a lot of people actually wrote back to me saying that they don't want to cancel you, which I found incredibly hard to believe, and almost disappointing in a way. But I guess the whole thing, like I listened to the full interview Aaron Rodgers did on Pat McAfee's show, and I've listened to some of the outrage and read some of the outrage that's been going around in the media, and it just doesn't make sense to me how people can be so angry that a guy has made his own decision about what goes in his body. Did he maybe not address it in the best possible way? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't understand the anger. Is it boredom? Like,
no,
what is it?
Yeah, it is boredom. I'm of the firm belief, and this is probably not a popular one, that society in general has run out of things to complain about. That's not tiny minorities that are oppressed for whatever reason, but as the average person, we've run out of shit to complain about. We've got, particularly in this country and in that country, you've got water, you've got a system, you've got healthcare, you got a government, you got all sorts of things that people 100 years ago didn't have. So now it's basically people are forced to squabble over anything, which is why you see people give a shit about such tiny fucking stupid things. I don't know whether our 80 listeners who tune in for rugby stuff are interested about American politics, but American politics is so far on their different ends of the spectrum. So they will tear anyone apart for anything, and they will champion anyone they can who even steps foot into their ring. So by having a choice and by sort of saying, I didn't want to get vaccinated, Aaron Rodgers automatically falls into the the left. The right.
I don't understand how he's in one of the camps. He's in one of the camps, so the other camp's going after.
He falls into like that right-wing pro-choice, pro-guns, pro. It's tied back into sort of Anglican is like that sort of. He falls back into that camp. He doesn't want to be in that camp, but he's in it.
Why anyone gives a fuck what a quarterback in the NFL does is absolutely beyond me.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't care at all. I mean, America's now at that point, they're so different from us. They've got 40 bazillion cases and they're just sort of doing whatever. Like it's...
I got to bring something else up with you, and I'd love to get your opinion on this. So unconfirmed sources, but reliable sources. Apparently the ARU are scrapping the Aon Women's 7 series next year. And I don't know if this is true or not, but there sounds like there's no formal sevens competition in Sydney next year. Is that as fucking crazy as I think that is?
Yeah, that sucks. I mean, I know we spoke about women's sport in the last episode, but women's sevens was there for a little period, a very good moneymaker for the ARU, and brought in a lot of popularity, revenue, and produced some stars. And you can't just fucking kick them to the curb if they don't get a medal or they don't get the medal you want. So
so what happened is they didn't get a medal. This is my understanding of it. Yeah. If you medal in the Olympics, the government gives you government funding. So obviously they didn't go well in the last Olympics, so the government funding's been pulled.
Yeah, well, look, that's disappointing. I would like to think that. I mean, that sevens program doesn't cost a hell of a lot of money in comparison to some of the things we do. Like, we spend a lot of money on like academies and the 20s program and things like that. Whereas at this point in time, I would say like sevens is a pathway for women. It is their pathway into the game. The Sydney comp was really good. It was really important. The universities comp was great, and it was a great thing for our game to have a strong women's sevens team. So if the fact that I've seen a few girls going to NRLW, is that an indicator that they're rolling over, or that there's no core contracts next year? I don't know, but either way.
I think that's going to happen more and more. Do you know the thing that annoys me most about that, Jed? Is instead of going, so they've gone, oh, we don't have the money, we can't afford to do it, which I don't know if that's what they've done, but that's what it looks like they've done. How about trying to work out how you can finance it? Like, if I need to buy something for Wandering Bear, I'll sell some t-shirts, or I'll like promote some gum, or do something that actually creates revenue rather than just going, oh, hey, I can't afford it. It's to me, that's just a small-minded attitude. And like, I would argue that the women's sevens team that won the gold medal at the Rio Olympics actually changed the face of women's sport in this country. Because after they did that, nearly every other sport has professional competitions now. And that didn't happen before the Olympics.
No.
And the flow-on effect from that is you get a lot of young girls starting to play the game, and then you're actually boosting your participation base in like something that should have been a very obvious demographic in women.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
And it feels like they're just, I don't know, they're giving up on it. Like,
yeah. I mean, after that Rio Olympics, like I'm sure you saw it at South, Eastwood for the first time in whoever knows, since I was a kid, had a women's team again. They had a junior seven side. They had a 16 to 18 side, and now we're lucky enough to have a good sevens team that runs through all those competitions. So
not only that, NRL started, A-League started, the cricketers started, AFL started.
They were trailblazers for that period. But and I know that they were, for women's sport in this country, on the better end of the financial coin. So yeah, it's just gonna be interesting to see what happens, whether Australian Rugby are just going to solely fund it, or whether it'll sort of fall into shambles for sort of 2 years as they move to save money and then bring it back out for the next Olympics. But it's not
fucking
good.
insane
Either
to
way.
me.
No, it sucks because they're a symbol of sport here as well. Anytime you can win an Olympic gold medal is an Olympic gold medal. So we're only 4 years off that happened. They didn't have as good a campaign this time. It's not like they're that far off. Like, without going out on a limb here, the men's team haven't been close to winning anything for fucking 2 decades. So,
well, there hasn't been any formal men's competition as far as I know, apart from like the odd tournament, is there?
But they got. If we're talking about funding here, they get a lot more funding.
Do they? Okay, I didn't know.
I dare say they're going to have a consistent. Like, they're going to have consistent payments going forward. They're not going to cut men's sevens entirely. There was a period there where they did.
But they're not cutting women's sevens. It's more the pathway.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? We're on the same page there, aren't we? It's the pathway that they're getting rid of, which I think is a fucking ridiculous idea.
Without sort of, I suppose Johnny Minetti has been the head coach for a while, and he's at Eastwood, and he watched all those pathway games, because I'd watch them as well, because I'm Sporting Tragic, and I'd be like, did you see so and so? She was really good, or on the wing for the Force, or on centre for here or centre for there. So a lot of those women were found in the pathways, just like in any other sport, and male sport 15. So it sucks. It sucks.
Okay, let's get to the really bad news. We've talked about all the good stuff already. Taniela Tupou has a concussion. Is that an accurate statement?
Yeah, I believe so. I was just getting an update on it lately.
Is that breaking news? Are we breaking news right now?
We're breaking news in 3 days when I cut it up. Yeah, we're breaking news. Taniela Tupou, if he doesn't come through this concussion protocol, they are fucked.
Yep.
They are so fucked. And is Allen injured?
He went off during the game, but came back on. So I don't know. I think he's 50-50. But look, I've had this argument with people for months now about how important tight head props are. And look, James Slipper's a world-class loose head prop. Throw him in at tight head. I mean, he locked down a couple, but overall it wasn't spectacular. And like even with Al, like I don't know what's going on with Al, but the difference in the scrum when Taniela was on, noticeable.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I think I know you haven't quite watched the game yet, but I think the scrum difficulties were a big component to why we actually lost the game.
Yeah, no, look, I caught up a little bit. The thing is, we aren't a good enough team to have Tupou as a finisher or like a bench player. He has to play fucking 70 minutes every game.
I think they bring him on at the end to make up for Angus Bell's inadequacies.
Well, you can't do that. Go and pick a better loose set because every fucking test he will collapse. He's 21 years old or however the fuck old he is. He's going to collapse a few and get penalised every test. He carries the ball like a gun, but his scrummaging will not get better for years. So find a better loose head and stop making Tupou even him out. Tupou has to fucking start and he's got to play 70 minutes every game if you want to win tests week in and week out.
I agree. Look, we lose him going to the next World Cup. It's a very big problem. Thoughts? How much of the game have you actually watched?
I've watched a bit.
Mate, I look at it. Okay, did we play well? No. But if we didn't do a few stupid little things and things came off, then we go from losing the game just to winning the game quite comfortably. Like Al got sin bin for a reckless arm, which
we've got to stop. We've got to stop on that. You got to stop.
Terrible call by the ref, in my opinion.
But it's almost not his fault. It's almost not his fault. The guidelines are so unbelievable. I've hit my grandma harder than Alan hit that guy. Honestly, even the Scottish crowd at Murrayfield, when they saw the replay, were like, "Ugh," and they were sort of booed it, which is insane. It was fucking embarrassing.
It was nothing. But like, regardless of how you look at it, ill discipline, like it was reckless. You know, debatable, but whatever. Let's look at it like that. There was a penalty earlier on, I think, against Folau that stuffed up another try. That's 2 tries, potentially 14 points. James O'Connor misses one from in front. That's another 3 points. So instead of losing by 2 or 3, whatever the score was, you know, we win the game. And you know, some of the inadequacies probably don't get as big a spotlight shone on them.
Yeah.
And rugby is very much like that. It's very small moments become big moments. And I actually think it was a game we needed to lose.
Interesting. I think in terms of bringing the inadequacies to light, it's perhaps important, but the way this tour's shaping up and the cattle we have, I think you needed that notch on the board.
Well, look, you never like to lose ever. And particularly at Test rugby, like you judge solely on wins and losses. But I think for the long term, probably better than losing that game because we didn't get beaten. We lost that game, which is, as a coach, I would find that even worse.
Yeah, it's disappointing. Like in terms of executing, you know, medium to hard tasks at pivotal times, that's what good teams do well. And that's why, you know, even after 4 games, you know, we're not an empire. Because you got to be able to do it fucking 100 times in a row.
I agree. Mate, I thought the All Blacks were shaky. Did you watch that game?
Yeah, my only qualm with that. They were at 55 minutes in, they were 14 penalties in. That whoever had the whistle in that game lost his mind. So they were shaky. Italian defense was massive. They were just flying up. A few of the boys were way off touch. Damien McKenzie was way out of touch. Balls were being dropped, but yeah, look, it was a very stop-start game because the penalty count was fucking enormous.
Did you see the guy run on in the Wales South African game?
Yeah, look, it doesn't even make me giggle, and I like dumb shit, but it doesn't make me giggle. He's a fuckwit, and to be honest, they should just set him free in Cardiff and let him get flogged.
No, that'd be worse than going to jail, I reckon.
They should have let him. I've been in Cardiff and not got flogged, and they should have let him free in Cardiff on the main strip that night with a sign on his head. He would have come out with no teeth. It's fucking dumb. I don't get it. I don't like it.
No, look, Wales is a rugby country, so some would argue that guy might not have got the try, but geez, it would have got close.
What
That
about
was their best opportunity.
that other fuckwit? He's been doing it at all the games. He did it at the Japan game.
Yeah, I don't understand how guys like that can actually become famous of just being fuckwits.
Well, I dare say most of his interest comes from non-rugby people. Then
Maybe.
rugby people would be like, "You're a fuckwit."
But it's like he's got no talent. So what's his talent? Getting into a stadium and walking over the fence, like,
well,
but becoming.
funny. I don't know what laws they're running there, because at this point in Australia, after like 4, he'd be in prison. So I don't know why he.
Well, he certainly wouldn't be able to get into any stadium.
No,
Maybe they don't know who he is in Ireland. Well, they do now. They do now.
It sucks. I fucking hate it. And if you were singing the anthem, like, and a guy was standing next to you, tell me you wouldn't fucking drag him off.
You'd be like disgusted. I would imagine.
Fuck this idiot. Like,
Do you see against the All Blacks, Tyrell staring at him?
no, I didn't.
Yes, he's standing right next to Tyrell Lomax, and Tyrell just turned and looked at him. The fuck is this guy doing?
Yeah.
You know. Have I talked to you about Hezbollah yet?
No.
I can't remember. Hezbollah might be my favorite meme / person on the internet right now.
He's great. He truly is great.
He's fucking hilarious. That video of him and Abdu Rozik or whatever his name is, getting in a fight in Abu Dhabi. Mate.
It's just, it epitomizes the internet and where we're at the moment, where like a 20-year-old guy with some sort of disease where you don't grow is the most famous person in the world. But it's very, very funny. He just punches everyone in the face.
But like professional fighters too.
Yeah, he like go to meet him and just look him in there.
Headbutting Khabib. Sorry, you go. Go. More important, you go.
I for one was very much looking forward to his I was following like Chechnya news to figure out when his pay-per-view with Abdu Razik was coming out.
Who is Abdu Razik? Who is Abdu Razik?
He was a pop star from, and I'm going to get this wrong, and my friend is going to murder me, but a neighboring country, like I think it's Tajikistan. He raps. So he's a pop star, and they had teed up a thing, and I watched an hour interview with him, and the full translation from like Tajikistan and Russian, and like they were arguing over who was a better Muslim. It was insane. It was crazy stuff. He's great.
Like, you know, it's very frustrating for someone that tries to put media out on the internet. You know, maybe we should try and fight pop stars from fucking Russia, but we haven't had a single person respond to our call outs.
You're telling me, I know Dr. Carl doesn't have that much to do these days. When was the last time you saw him do anything? Dr. Carl, answer our request. Chubby wants to fight you.
He's probably like a black belt at judo or something.
Yeah, he will. He'll cast a spell on you. Inspired unemployed. Not surprised they're very little. But yeah, look, I was disappointed that Dr. Carl in particular didn't get back to you.
I thought that would have been something that would have struck a chord with him. But I've been wrong before.
He's an obvious fighter. I've got a very good topic, and one that will make me cringe because we've both done it, I presumably. Did you see in the AFL that they've got rid of skin fold testing because it's body shaming?
What the fuck?
So for the AFL draft, there won't be skin fold testing because of its body shaming.
Oh my god!
That is
no. That should be big news.
It is. It's fucking. It's all over the place.
You're an athlete in a running sport. Carrying too much fat makes you slower and makes you more unfit. Yeah.
So the world is currently. I'm just having a look at it now. The world is fuming over skin fold testing. The league reportedly told clubs on Saturday night would be banning teams from using common body fat measuring tool ahead of this year's national draft. Why? Why? Firstly, AFL, they're all shredded. Secondly, why? Why?
Mate, it's coming back to cancel culture.
What am I doing here?
Really, like, Mate, there was nothing worse on planet Earth. So South, Todd's first year at South, he got a nutritionist lady in, and she goes, "Oh, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Oh, I probably need to lose a little bit of body fat." And she looked at me with a shirt on. And she's like, "You don't look too bad. You play prop. Take your shirt off." And she goes, "Oh, yeah, you do." "Oh, yeah, you do."
Oh fuck!
But she's right. She was right. Like,
Yeah, it's really useful. It's really look. I've been there, and there was a trick I learned in Melbourne from Paul Arlo, and you have to sort of grease yourself up before the calipers. So for anyone who doesn't know what the skin folds actually is, it's 7 tests around your body. So your bicep, your tricep, your stomach, your legs, all over the place, and they add up the numbers. And we would get into the ice bath. This is just before, like, they're calling your name to get skin fold testing. You're in the ice bath, and you just get out, so your skin's really tight.
Tight, yeah.
And then you stay a little bit wet as well. So they're trying to caliper you, and you're just like, oh, I guess it's muscle. But if I had to sit there for 3 years and watch my score slowly jump into like the 150s, then these guys who would be rocking 45 in skin folds, so who gives a fuck?
Way less, probably.
Yeah.
But funny story about skin folds is I was playing the NRC when I was in Melbourne. I was about to play Alan Alatoa in the semi-final, and I just had my skin folds done that week, and I weighed 112 kilos, and my skinnies were like 115, which is terrible. And for like a fit person, it's terrible. And I was talking to Al before the game. I'm like, "Oh, what are you weighing at the moment?" Usual prop bullshit chat. And he goes, "Oh, I weigh 125." And I'm like, "Oh, what are your skinnies?" And he goes, like, 50. This is a different species.
I used to have the same problem with Guy Miller when he was around. Like, you stupid South African genetic freak, wherever you are.
He's a shredded fuck. He looks large at the moment, though, to be fair.
125 kilos, his skinnies were like 40. And I was 125 kilos, my skinnies are 125. So go fuck yourself, Guy, is the main message for this.
He'll be watching this probably. He's a big fan. Big fan of the show. But the fact that they're banning it because they don't want to body shame is absolutely that is peak 2021 for me. I had to think what year it was for a second there, but peak 2021, should we stop wearing like singlets because of like people might get offended that there's skin showing? Where does it end? Where does it end, Jed?
You know what? It's going to end the same way it's going to end in America. Unfortunately, politically, you'll see the middle, which is probably you, being pushed that way. You're going to get pushed right because the left are annoying the fuck out of everyone with all these.
I would say I was right in the middle on most things.
Exactly. But that's how it sort of swings. So particularly after like Obama's, I do get political, but it's relevant. After Obama,
it's interesting.
After Obama's presidency, everyone had the shits with the Democrats. So you saw a massive swing, and a guy like Donald Trump, who, no one in a million years, I had significant money on him not being elected, got elected president. Massive Republican swing. Sleepy Joe at the moment, also doing a shit job. Cancel culture is high. Social justice warriors are everywhere. Democrats will have another massive fall, and the middle get pushed to the right, and the right rise again. So in Australia, we'll see a sort of conservative, old school conservative guy like our new premier push into sort of federal government. That's what will happen.
I feel like I'm just going to try and stay out of all that and just do whatever I think's right.
Yeah, I mean that, but you can't because you'll get caught. You'll inevitably get caught up in it some way, somehow.
Well, I think we need to start some kind of movement cancelling cancel culture, and that if you are trying to cancel someone, you should be cancelled yourself. That's what I think.
I'm okay with that.
I also wish that people who had talent rose to the top. It's so easy for anyone to become successful and famous these days. Like, just look at all the people that blow up on TikTok or Instagram back in the day. Then some of them, you would argue, weren't that talented, particularly on TikTok. And why do they have a fucking voice?
Yeah, well, no, they got ahead of the curve, so they were really skinny, which I also wish I was skinny. They took their
I,
shirt off,
I
and then
can't
they
do it.
just sort of wiggled their dicks around, and now they're fucking famous. But you know what?
I wish
They-
someone had
they-
told me. I would have done it.
I would have happy. I'm still happy to do it, but the demand is low. Yeah, it's look that you honestly, it's a coin flip. Some of this shit, particularly this era we're in now. Like every now and again, like a mate of mine will have like a little sister or a little brother who's sort of 8 or 9, and their digital intake is fucking insane. Like the crap they watch and the amount of it, like just people dancing just for fucking hours. I'm like, I couldn't do this if I tried.
I found my attention span is getting less and less.
Hmm.
And I
Maybe-
think it's to do with telephones and all the shit going on. It's like, if you haven't grabbed me within 15 seconds, I'm off with the fairies.
In terms of like watching something.
TV, human beings. Like I could talk to you all day because we're, very similar and I find you interesting. But if you aren't interesting, I'll be fucking thinking about me doing this. Geez, I'm going to start brewing beer. How do I sell more caffeine gum? And then you'll ask me a question. I'll go,
Yeah, I do that. Yeah, I do that all the time. You make an assessment very quickly whether you're going to engage. Like you'll be at the pub, and you're right. It takes, and maybe it's a function of our digital age, but after about 20 seconds, you're like, all right, I'm just gonna start floating in my head for a bit.
I did a podcast with a well-known rugby coach who I won't name, but I am not going to release that podcast because it was so uninteresting that I think if I was that person, I wouldn't want it released.
I mean, what do you do? What do you do with that though? Like, do they ask at any point why it hasn't gone out?
If they ask me, I'll probably just ignore them. but
how well known are we talking?
Well known.
Fuck. I mean, not all coaches are interesting, I suppose.
Mate, incredibly uninteresting. Like painful.
Yeah. It sort of takes me on. We were chatting the other day about coaches and how, I mean, fuck, you have so many coaches in your career. I love some of my coaches and I hated some of my coaches. Like, what did you have guys who you were, or were you more indifferent? I suppose I'm more polar in my opinions on people. Were you more sort of indifferent to some, love some? Or how were you?
No, I had some that I fucking hated. And you know what? We actually won a premiership with that coach.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. They won't watch this, but like the guy couldn't have had a bigger disdain for props. It couldn't have been more disdained. Like props were just unnecessary to this guy. And it was almost like we won in spite of them. People might not like me saying that, but it's true. But yeah, I've had a lot of coaches I love, but my attitude is I'm going to try and keep open and try and learn from everyone. And there'll be some good things from one person, some shit things from another person, and you just try and work out the best for you. Yeah, that's my take on it.
It's a very mature take. I certainly couldn't have had that until the last couple of years. Like I had coaches who I've come to acknowledge the fact that I respect certain coaches more for. I respect guys who put in time, and I respect like strategy-based coaches. So if you're more of a morale-based guy, I won't naturally come to you. So if you're more of just like a,
passion.
If you're just a pure passion guy, it doesn't ring as true to me. So I suppose now that I can acknowledge that I can try and pick out the parts of their approach that work best. But the guys who I really liked throughout my career were guys who were meticulous geniuses, basically. I love the guys who spend fucking too much time analyzing things, breaking the game down, and coming up with their own shit. So, like and quirky at times, but like Billy Melrose, he's a genius. So he's a smart man. And what he probably doesn't have in that other aspect, I was attracted to that. So I suppose that it came up because you try and get the best parts of all of it, which is
look. it is impossible. I agree with you totally. I prefer strategy over emotion. That's the way I am. I'm not a hugely emotional person, and like I'm not someone that likes hurting people. So I just really struggle with all that pre-game pump up bullshit. But I think some people do get off on that. So my take on it anyway is that you need to have the strategy and a little bit of passion and emotion for those people, because you and I could be as strategic as we like for people like us, but there are other guys who just don't respond well to that and just want to go out there and bash people. So you got to be able to get through to them as well. So I think having a balance is probably the key there.
Yeah, I mean, the whole process was sort of made me look back on coaches, and it's no secret I hated my Fords coach in Melbourne. He literally didn't like me.
I know you mean.
He treated me like dirt when I was there. And I was young. I was probably a pain in the ass, but he treated me like shit, literally like a piece of shit. So I hated him, and I ran into him year after year after year, and I still can't. I have no respect for him as a person. He was just a bad dude to me when I was a young kid.
Which is fucking strange.
Sucks. It sucks, man.
Yeah.
But there were aspects to his coaching which were good. So like I can look back and be like, those aspects, those technical aspects were really good. The fact that this is the process that you used, this is the way you ran trainings, they were really positive. The fact that you alienated half of your squad, not a positive.
The human side of it is probably more important than the rugby side of it, in my point of view, because he can be as good a coach as he likes, but if he's lost half the forward pack on half the team, what fucking good is being a good actual technical coach?
Yeah.
And particularly in a work environment, like in a rugby club, it's more social. So you really shouldn't be a prick anyway. But in a professional environment, you're at work. So why would you want to make it unpleasant for anyone?
Yeah, I don't know. It's very rare. Usually, like sort of senior players get sick of coaches after 3 or 4 years, but the guy just didn't like him. So
But you got to be a little bit of a strange character to be a good coach.
I think so. I think you got to be. I mean, you're looking down. Fuck, we might have to cut this bit, but I look around the shoot shield and there's a handful of coaches.
Don't name them so we don't have to cut it. But I know exactly what you're saying.
There's a handful of coaches I respect, and I think that's right there. That's a coach, man. He puts in time. I've seen him put in time. He puts in work. He varies his game plan. I cut up his thing. And what does it matter to them? I'm a nobody to them. So
exactly,
fuck it. But there's a handful of guys, and those guys are different people. Because you got to if I look at Billy spent his whole life fucking coaching, and you got to give up time with your family. You got to give up time in your social life. You got to give up time as in your profession if you want a profession as well. I mean, I look at Ben. I work under Ben, and like Ben spends a stupid amount of time. So I think you got to be insane, and that's where I don't respect as much people who sort of just go through the motion.
I have a theory on that. A lot of theories, but I think some people become rugby coaches because they like the idea of the lifestyle of being involved with sport and earning a living doing something that's fun. I think that's a lot of it. That I call that ego coaching. And then I think some people are genuinely meant to be coaches, and the process of actually improving a group of human beings, improving individuals, and learning about yourself and the game is genuinely appealing to people. And they're the coaches that I like. The people that aren't doing it for the money or the lifestyle, they're the people that are willing to work on themselves and everyone in the organization to get better.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. And you can tell when you're a player who they are. You can fucking tell, because at whatever time, there's whatever clips are ready, there's your game plans ready, your things are ready. If we needed something, they've got it for you. They've done something else for you that you wanted. If you needed individual feedback, they've done it, and you respect them. And that, as soon as you get, if you get the respect of your playing group, the rest sort of takes care of itself. But guys, we had guys, particularly in the NRC, which was a short comp, they were guys who were going through the fucking motions. And I had to sit there, mostly I did 3 years of the Rams, one at the Eagles. So it was mostly at the Rams, but I sit there with the Rams and just go, well, you haven't recruited. We didn't prepare a game plan. We're understaffed. You don't know who everyone is. Like, what's the point are you doing here? So, like, I'm here. You're meant to be here doing a job as well. So, it honestly, it's a very rare part of rugby, but it fucking sucks when you have a coach who you don't like. It really does. And it's fantastic when you have one who you do. I was lucky I had a lot that I do. And I had John at Eastwood for a long time, who I like. And I had Ben at the end of my career, who I really like. But it changes rugby completely when you have one you don't.
I feel like a lot of I feel like junior coaching is a really important job. I wouldn't want to do it myself because I think that those guys have to deal with a lot in terms of parents and
yeah.
This is not for me. But
no.
How often do you hear of like a bad junior coach turning a kid away from the game?
Yeah.
And I think it's the same probably at Shoot Shield level. Like, I've heard of some crazy stories over the years. Like,
well, I mean,
yeah,
definitely. I mean, Eastwood has been the traditional recipient of a lot of players from a certain club, and that's not really been through our seeking, to be honest. But certain relationships and certain coaches, they drive people away. And like, if you've got a good coach, players will come back. If your first grade and second grade coaching is good, even if they're not in the position they want to be, they will come back because they're like, you know what, I'm getting better. I know that guy's got the spot in me at the moment, but I'm getting better. I'm enjoying my time. Where you're running into trouble is where someone's hunting for a first grade spot, just on the cusp, didn't get it. Next club, and that's what you do see a lot.
There's a lot of that. I just listened to A Season in the Sun, the book on Tom Brady and the Bucks last year. And I was going to screen record this and put it on Instagram because I thought it was so good. I listen to audio books. And it was Tom Brady wanted to leave Michigan after his first year. And he's gone to the coach and said, I want you to transfer me. And he said, you need to go away and think about this because this could be the biggest regret of your life. Do you want to just give up or do you want to stay and compete and actually prove that you're the best player? Thought about it. I'd like to stay and prove I'm the best player. Became who he was meant to become. But how many times do you see guys just go, oh, I'm not in first grade. This guy hates me. Fuck this place. Go to the next place.
Yeah.
It's more common than it isn't.
It's a really good point. And it's come up organically, but it's a very good point. I suppose I tell the guys who are aspiring, like, obviously you need to help them out of being realistic is the most important thing for any player. If your sense of reality is off, you're going to have a very long and tough career because you're always going to think you're here when you're actually far lower. So you need to have a grasp on where you sit. After that, I suppose, from an Eastwood perspective, I'm of the opinion where you need to just get into this fucking team, but make yourself so good that you can't not be picked. Once you're in the team, the rest will take care of itself. Now, if you want to go to another club and try and make that team, fine. But if you don't make that, you go to the next one. At some point, you're going to have to be, if you want to be a professional, so good that you are good enough to make any team. So, even if there's someone very good ahead of you, be better than them. I mean, it's not like there was no props when you turned up to South.
There was 3 Wallaby props.
Yeah, or there was no props when I turned up to Eastwood, and they were just like, "Oh, we didn't have loose heads last year. Here you go." You at some point you actually have to play and be a better player than someone who's in front of you on the ladder.
I would say to the second grade guys all year, if you want to be in first grade, you've got to stand out. You've got to be so good that we have to pick you in first grade. And the other thing that coaching's so interesting because you get to actually really see what people are about. And a lot of people say they want something, but their actions aren't backing up what they're saying. So I'm
So-
far more interested
so
in a
true,
guy
bro.
that's actions that is doing the work rather than talking about it.
So
But
true, man.
it's usually the other way around.
Yeah, yeah. That is the truest thing that we've potentially ever said on this this podcast. But 9 out of 10 guys showing up to club football in that sort of top squad say they want to be professional athletes. About 2 of them do, because to be a professional athlete, you have to eat like a professional athlete. You don't drink much because you're a professional athlete. You fucking train like a professional athlete. You look like a professional athlete, and then you play like a professional athlete. And most of the guys, they might play like a professional, and they might do half of the weights. But if you think you're going to be a professional, why don't you look like players in your position at the next level? Why aren't you as quick as them? Why aren't you as fit as them? Why don't you have the same skills as them? So that's so true. And that comes back to sort of knowing that your reality and knowing like, okay, I'm probably good enough, but my body composition is fucked and I need to go and work way and get stronger in the legs. Or, I'm not good enough yet and I need to put more time. I need to spend double the time. But only 10% of guys really, of those, guys who show up to the top squad actually know or have what it takes to get to that next level. They just want to say they are. They want to say they are.
It's like an ego. It's an ego thing. They want to feel good about themselves. Why am I not playing first grade? Why am I not playing Super Rugby? The reality is your actions are not backing up your words.
Yeah, I mean it's very easy. It's not an easy out. It's a realistic out. I mean, most of the time, a vast majority of the time, the input will reflect in the output. And when they ask you a question or someone goes, well, why didn't the Tars look at me for preseason? I go, well, what are you squatting at the moment? Well, I haven't squatted in a couple of months. Well, then the Tars look at you and they go, it's going to take me 6 months to get this guy to par. I don't have that amount of time. I need someone who's ready to go now. So whilst you got to it takes a lot of your time, a lot of your effort, a lot of your brain power, a lot of drive. Like if you want to be a professional, you need to tick those boxes before you get there. It's not about being cited as some sort of prospect. Most of the guys going on into these programs are already ticking all these boxes.
I don't think, well, this was my experience, is I thought I wanted to be a professional rugby player. And then in the couple of tastes that I had of it, I'm like, oh, I don't actually want this. And I think most people think they want it, but they don't really want it when you find out what it actually takes.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting take. A lot of guys, like I know Ben he did a podcast the other day, Mr. Batchin. He the most fun he had as a player in terms of enjoying his rugby was club level. I speak to Guy Miller a lot. A lot of the times, when he was down in Auckland or he's somewhere in New Zealand, he sort of just wished he was back playing club footy, doing what he loved. You're right. I wanted to be a professional footballer. I didn't mind training day in, day out. I could have done it for a couple of years, but it's more of a, like you said, it's more of something to hang your hat on than something that people actually love. Because, as I keep saying, there's a few young guys I'm talking to at the moment who are doing their first pre-seasons or their first full year on contract. It's not very fun. And it's your fucking job. You get paid for it for a reason, because you turn up and you get smashed. And you're expected to be at places on time. You can't sleep in, got to be there. You've got to do the training. You've got to say yes or no, sir. You got to know all this shit. It's not right. It's not like your normal football. It is your job.
Who was the Rupert liaison officer when you were at Melbourne? I bring him up all the time. He was a great bloke.
He was a great bloke.
I can't remember his name. Good bloke.
Yeah.
Nah, Cam York.
Cam York,
I think. He said to me when I'm there that professional sport is unlike any other occupation, because in most jobs you judge maybe once a year on your performance. In professional sport, you judge every day every week for the vast majority of the year. You get weighed, you get skin fold tested, maybe not anymore. And you have a real light shine on your performance, which for someone in their early to mid 20s to early 30s is a really, really tough thing for a lot of people to deal with. And I think if you don't really enjoy it, it's probably not something you're going to last at.
Yeah, look, we might have to cut the middle out of this because this is the good stuff at the end. We've just stumbled upon it. The guys who look like there's some young guys from Eastwood who are just moving into the professional world, and most of the advice I give them is from things I learned not to do, but it's got nothing to do with their football. It's got everything to do with politics of going into groups, knowing when a coach actually means something they say, or whether they're just sort of making it up on the spot, saying the right things at the right time, trying to be one of the boys without being, a pisshead or being seen as a party guy. Those aspects they're harder than playing rugby, because if you've been picked up, you're already a good rugby player. You got to go somewhere and have a personality that suits the team, and the coaches have got to like you, but you got to still be seen as challenging. It's you're literally a politician when you're there. You got to put off the right vibe, and that's the hardest part. One of the guys was, preseason can get crazy. You're with each other every day in, day out, just on top of each other. Like tiny little differences can blow up for no reason, just because you've got nothing else to worry about. And some of the time I spent talking to him about stuff like that, and I'm like, mate, it'll blow over, but go buy a tub of ice cream and it'll all be good. But they're the hardest parts of professional football. It's not the playing. It's
the playing and the travels are the fun part.
You're right. It's that sort of bullshit. It's the being weighed and the scrutiny. I said to a player, I used to give out sort of fucking bullshit advice once a week, years and years ago, to the young players. I said to him, mate, you're better off being a better trainer than a better player, if you want to be a pro. And
that's what people care about.
Yeah, because I said you're going to train fucking 50 times the amount of time you play, so you might as well be a better trainer. And yeah, particularly in this country, that's how you'll get a longer career that way. That's for sure.
Mate, that was very insightful. I've certainly had a rugby career where I did everything you shouldn't do.
Yeah.
And I feel like you've probably done a lot you should do, and probably a lot you shouldn't do as well. So if anyone gets to this point, feel free to message Jed Gillespie, and I'll give you his number as well if you like.
Actually, I got a very good point, but I'll have to save it for next week. Man.
No, well, I got time.
Well, I was talking to. We can cut. I'll play around with this one. I was talking to some of these guys. I'm almost at the point, and like you spent some time. I spent some time. I think professional rugby has too much time on their hands. I think they start inventing things.
I think humans have too much time on their hands generally and start to invent things, particularly when they get bored. I spent a couple of weeks at Melbourne in 2018. This was the schedule one day, and it just absolutely did my fucking head in. 7 a.m. field session, because the Storm were there and whatever the Melbourne soccer team is were training at the same ground. So obviously the Rebels get shut on and have to train first. So 7 till 8:30. Then you have half an hour till breakfast. They cooked your breakfast there. Wonderful. Probably the only part of it that I enjoyed. And then 8:30 till 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you've got nothing to do until gym. Gym's in the afternoon. So what the fuck are you doing between 8:30 and 2?
Yep. And then keep in mind, you got scrum meeting, line-out meeting, forwards meeting, team meeting, attack meeting, backs meeting, strategy meeting, senior leaders meeting. There is a plethora of time in that week, particularly in the preseason, and a lot of, I suppose, what I've been saying to these guys is you got to pick the moments where you're getting poignant things that you can use, and moments where they're killing time, or they're killing, like, if you're getting feedback and they're like, oh yeah, work on your catch pass. Is it something they really looked into, or is it something that they had to come up with a third thing and they threw it at you?
Fucking oath. I I would ask people questions that I didn't know the answer, that I knew they did not know the answer to, just because I wanted to see what they said. Like, to me, if I don't know something, I'm going to go, hey, Jed, I don't know, but let's find out together.
Yeah.
But nearly everyone came up with an answer.
Yeah, look, you'll get like, particularly areas, like there's a player at the Waratahs and he didn't end up signing the Waratahs, did a pre-season. It's like, well, why didn't I get picked up? All my work on. And, the response, it was very recently, the response was like, oh, mate, you under the high ball, you just keep working on that. That's his best facet of his game. Some would say,
but that's also a skill you can improve.
Yeah, but it was under the high ball, which was the best thing of his game, and mauling. Like, fairly intangible. So I said, mate, you got to look at it in context. The reality is, didn't have a spot for you, probably didn't want you. Here's some feedback. Doesn't really matter.
Well, one of my things that I've really made sure I did this year, you can't always do a good job on it, but you try to, is just be very honest with people. We are not picking you because the other guy's playing better. If you can improve this, this, and this, that'll help you. But at the moment, they're the main man.
Yeah. It's like this is the best outcome because of this. I think once you start getting into like sort of intangible goals where people can hit or can't hit, you're in the murky water.
Yeah, and it's a lot of that's really to do with people's personality and coaches not liking them.
But I think I think it definitely is. But I suppose for those guys who are in that or who haven't been in a professional environment and moving into it, there's a lot of fucking dead time, but they use it. So you gotta sort of learn to be on for the parts that are really important, and not be off, but like just be there for the other parts. But as I said, you'll have 10 meetings a week. Probably could be knocked out in 2, but you're gonna have 10. So it's almost like attending them is more important than actually getting any knowledge across.
When Wandering Bear Sports becomes a global superpower, which, like, let's face it, it's well on its way.
Inevitable.
I will not be going to meetings. I hate meetings. When I had a real job, the vast majority of meetings that I went to were to make the other person feel good and never actually got anything accomplished.
Yeah, look, meetings for the most part, I like conversations, but meetings for the most part are to satisfy someone's need for something, whether it's attention or something, or they don't understand something. But yeah, when you're running your own empire, mate, you don't have to go to meetings.
There are some good meetings, I should say, but the vast majority of them don't leave with any outcome, as far as I can tell.
Well, you probably enter with what you need and leave with what you need.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
that's it. That's all I'll do.
So,
I think we've done well as per usual. How would you rate this show? 9? I reckon 8, 9 out of 10 today.
Well, there's a little bit towards the end. There's some actual things that might help someone sometime. But yeah, there's a bit of ranting at the start as well, so that's good.
I like finding out about that stuff because I'm more of an observer of it than actually being like either way about it. So I just like, it doesn't make sense to me. People should be able to say what they want, do what they want. Obviously, you don't want to hurt anyone if you can avoid it. But I think your intention's got to matter a little bit.
Look, I stand by, I suppose, my summary for the whole thing is I think we've run out of things to complain about.
Yeah, it's like a big boredom. So
it's often quoted by sort of speakers and people like that from the conservative angle, but they're like, were your grandparents complaining this much when they didn't have fucking electricity? They were poor as shit. They had no technology. They're dying early. Like, you've got everything. What are you complaining about?
I was listening to something the other day. I can't remember what time period it was, but it was like, smell yourself. How do you smell? Yeah, not bad. Compare that to 200 years ago where perfume didn't exist, deodorant didn't exist, daily washing didn't exist. Might have been longer, 100 years, 200, whatever. So now we get washed every day. We really have everything. People don't have anything to complain about anymore, so they're making things up to complain about.
Yes, there's it's almost it makes people feel important to complain about things, but there's nothing substantial left. I'm sorry, but they're like, as I said, unless you are discriminated against minority, and in particular instances, If you're a run of the mill dude, run of the mill woman, if you're complaining about stuff to the high end, you are bored.
I agree. Let's come up with a t-shirt. Cancel culture.
100%.
Need to cancel Karens. Is there like a Karen name for men? Jed. Cancel Jed.
I think there is. I think it's Ken.
Ken McKay. He's not. He's not a cancelable person.
I can't remember. It is something like that though. I watch compilations on YouTube of them getting shut down. It's great.
You know we will have made it when people are trying to cancel us.
Yeah, I can't wait. I
can't wait either. All right, this is a good show, buddy. I had fun as always.
Yeah, it's good.
You got training on tonight?
Yep, did a little half day. I'll try and do some rugby stuff now.
Nice, mate. Nice. Never fucking ends the rugby stuff, does it?
No.
All right. I'll talk soon.